Well, hello and welcome back once again to the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast. This is episode 220. Jon and Wendy, welcome back, Jenni Stone. I'm your host, Jon.
And I'm Wendy. How are you, Jon?
Wendy, I'm well. 220 was a nice round number.
It is a nice round number.
I expected a response. I'm disappointed. Maybe 225.
I held it in. I need to, 220. It did take me a bit aback because I was like, wow. I mean, I know where we're at, but when you hear it said out loud, it hits a little different.
It is episode 220.
Yep.
We're now well into the month of May. Very excited to once again be sponsored by our friends over at Namely.
Mm-hmm.
Do appreciate them being on board with us for the entire month of May. Make sure to check out namely.com to learn more about them. Wendy, I don't want to get too serious for this show, but there was something I wanted to address because it's our show and we have the ability to do it. We're going to just do it very briefly because I'm really excited to get Jenni back and talk because we haven't talked to her in so long. Last week, we're recording this the week of May 11th. Last Wednesday was Star Wars Day, May 4. May the 4th be with you. Mm-hmm. And on May 4, I have shared for many years, there's an avatar of me from my other show, the Star Joe's podcast, of me in an X-Wing costume. And I posted it on Twitter with my Happy Star Wars Day thing. And somebody decided to make a fat joke out of it. It wasn't even a great fat. It was a really poor fat joke.
Bad joke.
It was a really bad joke. Anyway, I replied to the person and they doubled down. Kudos to them for having the guts to do that. And I basically said, hey man, I'm glad my fat ass made you happy. Then I did my job. The frustrating part or the sad part was it turned out it is an HR peer that's out there. We had a distinct or an interesting opportunity time-wise to record that day with the Inclusive AF folks.
Right.
You hear me then, and I'm probably fairly fired up about it. Other people were, and other people got really fired up, which I want to thank everybody that contacted me to say nice things. It was appreciated. Again, I just kind of laughed it off because it was just so ridiculous.
Right.
And I recognize that I am very fortunate that in the many years I've done this, if that's the one bad thing that happens to me, I am doing okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that something positive came out of this conversation, whether that individual likes it or not. And I thought long and hard about it. And I said, I'm going to do something tangible. I'm going to talk about it. And I made the longest LinkedIn post I've ever made put it on Facebook. I wanted to be very public about it because I think it's an opportunity to start a conversation about fat shaming and just harassment in general. Let's just say it. I'm a privileged white male. Upper middle class, that I've been very, very fortunate throughout all things. I want to help others as I can. And I want to lift up, as I've said in my LinkedIn post, I believe we ought to be lifting up and building up, not tearing down. So to that end, I have taken that avatar of me in my Star Wars uniform. It is now available on our TeePublic store.
I'm so excited.
T-shirts, onesies, stickers, phone cases, you name it, other than wall art, which I would not want you to get wall art.
What are those? Were they called fat heads? Where you get like the life-size sticker?
I may have to investigate that. I would do that with my Bananas logo. That design is now live. It is on our site. What I am going to do is that all monies that I raise, all the profits that are generated from the Star Joe's avatar shirt or product, whatever it may be, if you pick one up, I have two charities. One is Stomp Out Bullying and one is the Trevor Project. I talked to several folks and got some information on anti-bullying nonprofits, and I'm going to donate that money in that person's name.
I love it.
Because I want something good to come of it. So not only will I be donating the funds, that the profits that come in, I'm going to match them personally. I want something positive to come out of this. Didn't want to bring the room down too much. I appreciate, again, everybody's support. Some of you went flame on without me asking. I appreciate that. But like I said, it doesn't solve anything.
Right.
It doesn't make anything better. I want something positive to come out of it. So if I can donate a few nickels, and I think, Wendy, we've been very, very fortunate.
Yes.
The community has been so great to purchase a lot of our swag. Over the last 2 years. We've donated over $1,200 to different charities.
It's fantastic.
A lot of things that we've gotten to do because the community is so supportive. And if you want my silly mug on a mug,
and you get a Jon sticker.
Yeah. Well, you have to get those. I'm not making those quite yet. Maybe down the road. but like I said, at least for now.
Oh, you can go get one on TeePublic. You can go buy one because I am buying one on TeePublic. It's going on my water bottle. I'll have it when I'm in Vegas in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, hopefully it arrives.
The profits from all those things will go to anti-bullying campaigns in that person's honor who's on Twitter. I wish him well. I blocked him because I'm just done. Thank you, everyone, for your support. And all these things help others as best you can, lift them up. That's one of the reasons we've got our guest on today, because Jenni is a wonderful example of that in our community. It's been way too long since we've had her on. Wendy, let's make the introduction to get started.
Yes. So excited to welcome Jenni Stone, aka Jenna, aka the HR Rockstar, to the show. We had the chance to meet her in person, 2019 at HR Florida. So excited to welcome her back. She is a self-proclaimed HR rock star, SHRM influencer, trainer, speaker, podcaster, HR, and officially an HR analyst at Millennium Physicians Group, one of the largest comprehensive independent physician groups with more than 700 healthcare providers located throughout Florida. In her spare time, she's a wife, mother, and grandmother. And when she's not doing HR, she is a personal chef, avid motorcyclist, and a singer. Well, Jenni, welcome back to HR Social Hour. We are super pumped to have you. First question, as always, what is in your glass?
Well, hello again, both of you. I'm so excited to be here. It's a little early still. I mean, I know it's always 5 o'clock somewhere, but I'm just sipping on the drink of the South, a little sweet tea over here. So, and Jon, I have a question for you. Those onesies, do they come in adult size?
Unfortunately, no. No, that would be quite the coup.
That would be awesome.
That is not TeePublic's domain, unfortunately. I don't know if I want to look at that stuff, but no, sadly, the onesies are for babies.
Okay. Well, when they come out adult size, you let me know.
I will do that. Jenni, it is really hard to believe. You first appeared on the Social Hour, episode 81, which was September of 2019. What have you been up to since then?
Gosh, I'm probably most of what everybody else has been up to, right? Everything COVID, right? So that's what's been happening since we talked to each other last. I mean, everything that you can possibly imagine under the sun. But in the last year, I've changed jobs twice. I celebrated, of course, a couple more turns around the sun. I'm getting ready to welcome my third grandchild. I just found out that my daughter is pregnant with her first, and I'm very excited. Getting ready to celebrate my 10th wedding anniversary. My husband and I have a little acoustic duo. We've been playing around town here in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. So we're back into the music. So a lot going on. Finally getting our feet underneath ourselves, I guess, again, and trying to figure out who are we again, right? The last 2 years. So it's been great. A lot of change, good and bad.
That's a good way to look at it. So as you mentioned, you've had a couple of jobs over the past couple of years, and you've been really open over the past many months, realizing that you needed to make a job change fairly soon after starting a new job. What's been the biggest aha moment for you, and what advice would you give to someone else that might be in a similar situation?
Well, honestly, I was embarrassed, right? Because I didn't understand how I could have been so off. So you all know I was with HR Shield for 10 years as a consultant and a business owner. And at some point I woke up one day and I said, okay, I'm 51. I have no 401k. I have no health insurance except for my husband, thankfully, covering me. Like, it's time, as much as I wanted this to, make me a millionaire, it's time for me to look for another job. So I started searching, and I just happened to come across a position at the same company my husband works at, the one that brought us here to South Carolina. And I went in there did the job interviews and talked to the manager. And I didn't understand how I could be so off about the company, the position, the manager. Like, it baffled me. I told my husband, I said, did I just forget how to be a worker, like going to a job, reporting to a corporate location, having an actual manager? Did I just forget what that was like? Because I thought maybe it was me, because I'd spent HR Shield 10 years, right? And here's this new position in a new industry. It was in manufacturing. My husband was there. So then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. Am I going to make him look bad? It was just, I had to go through these questions of, is it me? I was really fortunate because when I was considering leaving, have you ever, I don't know enough about y'all's history to know, but like you go to look at your resume and you're like, oh my God, this truly has dust on it. Like I have got to get this redone. So I went to do that with someone, her name is Dr. Rochelle Parks Yancey. Absolutely love her. And she redid my resume, and her service comes along with some career coaching. And as I was talking to her about this, she said, okay, you need to think of this company you're leaving as that boyfriend you've already broken up with, and you're just waiting until Christmas to get those gifts before you let him know. She's like, you've already decided. Yeah. She's like, you
That's
wouldn't
awesome.
be redoing your resume and having these conversations and doing these types of things if you hadn't already made the decision. So she was really insightful, and she got me out of my own way and had me really start thinking about, you know what, I'm valuable, and I have these skill sets, and I deserve these positions. I was applying for positions that I never thought that I could apply for a director level role because I thought I didn't have the experience, and she really helped me kind of work through that and look at what's important to me and what do I want. So me and that company broke up. And now here I am at a new company one weekend. I started with them last week. So that was a long-winded answer.
No, I think that's good, because I think when you go, anytime you're looking to leave a job, I think there is some self-reflection that needs to happen. And is it me? Is it you, or is it me? We can keep with that dating metaphor. Where's that breakdown happening? So figuring that out before you go start looking for something else, I think that's great advice.
Yeah. And we had actually, I think, Wendy, I don't know if you remember, at some point you were kind of a little coach for me for a while there. You and I had a couple of chats.
We did, yeah.
And I think, it was back then I knew that I couldn't stay at HR Shield, and, and I love them. I'm still, partner there as part of the business because it still exists. I'm just, no longer, working there. And it was really hard for me to go from working with friends, people that I worked with for 10 years that were also my partners. And so I had to start really reevaluate what do I want? I think every HR person kind of gravitates toward a particular discipline. Mm-hmm. Some people love benefits and comp. I'm not one of those. Some people love employee relations. Also not one of those, right? But I love technology. Like that is a piece that I really, really love. And I also love training and development. And this new position, by being thoughtful about what I wanted and pursuing the positions I wanted, I really feel that I found a fantastic fit with this company and with this role. So I'm super excited for the future with them, for sure.
Jenni, we talk about making changes and not making great choices, having to reassess why. I think we can all agree on this conversation now that particularly with what we've all dealt with in the last couple of years, there's a really high level of burnout in what we do. We see peers either making job changes or even maybe looking to exit the industry altogether and just get away from what we do day to day. I'm sure that might have factored into somewhat in your equation as you were searching. What advice would you give to those that are listening that are fighting burnout?
I would start with boundaries. And part of that, I know that everybody's throwing out that great resignation. To me, it was a great reevaluation, right, of what was important to me, not only from my career or from my job, but from family and personal life. So I had to set some boundaries for myself. At one point, not only was I working at HR Shield, I had 3 additional paying jobs, part-time jobs, and I was serving on 4 board of directors all at the same time. Oof. And I had pushed myself to this limit because I wanted to give back. I wanted to volunteer. But I also, when you're a business owner, it doesn't mean you're rolling in the cash right away, right? So I had these other jobs. And I had to learn to set boundaries for myself because what's that saying? You put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how I felt about it. I had to draw those lines. I had to set those boundaries. I had to determine, what needs to be done first, whether that's spending time with my family, is it self-care, is it exercise, whatever it is that I needed to fill that capacity first, versus the other way around. And it was so strange that when I started at this other company, I no longer had my email on my phone. I had dropped all of those additional things that weren't providing me any joy, right? Was that sparking joy, right? It wasn't happening for me. And I think when I kind of, in a way, narrowed my world down and set those boundaries for myself, it really helped me with that burnout piece, to not be spreading myself so thin that I constantly felt like I was working from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, right? So that would be my advice.
I have to tell you, your misadventures of part-time jobs has entertaining, and
Yes.
I don't mean that because I know it's not necessarily funny, but in many ways, I remember when you did your HR Undercover presentation, some of the things that you have talked about are so incredibly eye-opening. Not having looked for a part-time job or done that in some time, it is spectacularly amazing just how poor business owners are at running business or dealing with people.
Yeah, it was crazy. I still tell that story about the restaurant that I interviewed at when you were talking earlier about what had happened to you from the fat shaming perspective. To have someone interview you and tell you that they feel you're unable to go up and down the steps of the restaurant because of your size. Like, it's still, to me to this day, I still can't believe that he said that to me in a fully, serious way. It was one of his interview questions. And the part-time jobs, I found myself filling time with them and undervaluing myself. Like when we were going back to when I was talking to Dr. Parks Yancey about that, and she was talking about, knowing your value and your worth. And here I was, going out and taking these, positions and saying, okay, I'll accept that much per hour. Or I would originally quote my consulting fee, and then they would be like, oh, well, we can't afford that. And then I would accept it anyway. And here I am doing this really valuable, great work for this client and not being paid my worth. And I think that, instead of trying to fill it up with a bunch of little paying jobs, I just had to kind of reevaluate what was important but it is true. You can get all caught up in that for sure.
Definitely. So let's take an eye to the future. What do you think is going to be the biggest issue facing HR in the next year? And what are you doing to prepare for it?
I think as it relates to my current job, and I feel I've always felt this way about HR technology or HR analytics, is knowledge is power, right? So burned out employees, upskilling, turnover. I mean, there is so much data out there that we can gather, we can analyze, and we can use. And in order to get value from our HR analytics, we have to stop just reacting to these business requests, which I think is what we get, right? We're just reacting. Mm-hmm. We need to use the data to understand and anticipate business needs. And I think that is, whether or not that answers, whether or not that's a challenge, but we're in a completely new territory here. And so how do we, use that information, use that knowledge to help us anticipate what our business is going to need and to move forward to the future. So I'm a huge proponent of it's all there for us. It's just how we gather it, how we present it, and how we learn from it.
Jenni, one of the things that we've done since you last appeared, help us avoid burnout and get around doing so much work, is we've started crowdsourcing questions from guests. In this case, Jesse Campbell asks, if you could move into any new career outside of what you do now immediately and be successful, what would that new career be and why?
I'm wondering, because the first two that popped in my head, of course, I would love to be a rock star, but
we know that all too well.
Yes, but I think I'd be a chef in a heartbeat. I think I absolutely love cooking. I love creating. I love bringing people together, over my table, right? At my table, there's no greater joy for me than watching people enjoy something that I've made. And it just brings people together. And I think if I could do that every day, oh gosh, I would absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
I need to get you on MasterChef. I think you would be a great contestant on MasterChef.
The only reason I think I wouldn't do well on that is the time limits.
Oh, sure.
I like to take my time and make a mess and make mistakes. And, I feel like I love Gordon Ramsay, but I'm not sure I'd love him if he was hollering at me to hurry up. So.
With that, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. This episode of the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast is brought to you by Namely. We all do our best to keep ahead of business trends, but keeping ahead can be its own full-time job. With everyone wearing multiple hats, it's easy to fall behind. That's why you need to make the switch to Namely, the all-in-one HR solution that adapts with your business. Namely helps you and your team with all aspects of HR, from onboarding and performance management to payroll and intuitive benefits enrollment, whether you have 50 or 1,000 employees, all in one connected and modern platform. Plus, Namely is customizable for your company, culture, and goals, so they can match where you are now and adapt as you grow. Grow with Namely, and learn more about making the switch today by going to namely.com. For a limited time, get 1 month free when you make that switch to Namely. Thanks again to Namely for sponsoring the HR Social Hour Half Hour podcast. And now, back to the show.
And we are back. Jenni, it is now time for everyone's favorite part of our show, the half-hour question connection. We know not everyone dreams of being an HR professional when they're young. What career did you dream of having when you were a child?
Well, I was going to be an archaeologist.
Oh.
I was really particularly interested in like Greek and Roman mythology. Like that was my jam. I was all about that. But I used to drive my mom nuts for years because I would bring home every little thing I found in the dirt. I would think it was an arrowhead or it was a piece of ancient pottery, you know, everything. I would dig in the backyard and be like, Mom, look, I found another arrowhead. She said, okay, dear, you know. Probably for many years, probably for a few years, I was looking at that. So yeah, that would have been a fun job.
That would have been.
Jenni, I have a feeling you may have already answered this earlier in the conversation. Who's one person you've gained your network in the last year that you think more people should know?
Well, then, other than Dr. Parks Yancey, which would make sense, there actually two of them are come to mind immediately, and that's Jackie Clayton and John Baldino. I have thoroughly been enjoying their LinkedIn video sessions. They do it every Thursday morning. I don't know if you all have attended those. They're called But First Coffee.
They are fantastic.
Oh, because they're just so honest and raw. They're delightful. They're fun. They're really topical. They have some great conversations, and they just really bring the whole package to those sessions. And I absolutely love them. And I've met John before. I mean, I think Sherm had done an HR analytics conference, the one and only. It only happened once, and then COVID happened. But we attended and were bloggers for that particular conference. And I got to meet him in person. And these two are just absolutely fantastic. You know, they have awesome topics like ways to invest in talent or how to boost retention or dealing with difficult people. And they just take just a really fun, fresh way. And if you get a chance, I would definitely connect with them. And Thursday mornings at 10 on LinkedIn, it's called But First Coffee. Absolutely love it.
It is a lot of fun, and they obviously have a lot of fun with it as well. So, Jenni, if you could go back to the start of your career, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself based on what you know now?
Believe in yourself. You know, I think that I've far too long, I have undervalued the, you know, my skill sets and my knowledge. And, you know, sometimes you think it's beaten into your head, you know, that you've got to, you know, give something for free, you know, and then ask for something, you know, those types of things. And I think I got so caught up in that, I wasn't recognizing my value. So I really would say, believe in yourself. You can do anything, and make sure you don't undersell yourself.
Jenni, I look forward to your response here because of your background as a performer and being the HR rock star. What is your favorite or the most memorable live performance you ever attended?
Pitbull. I was in third row. I was in the third row for a Pitbull concert in Florida. Wow. And I cannot even tell you that I can't remember a time when I didn't have as much fun or I danced so much. You know, like people always joke around like how somebody has a hall pass list. Have you ever had that before? But like, oh, she's on my list or he's on my list. Pitbull is on my hall pass list to my husband's chagrin. I love him. And it was the most fantastic, fun, amazing concert I have ever been to. And I hope I get a chance to see him again. It was great.
Just don't laminate that list.
No. I can't add to it.
Look it up, kids.
Oh, yeah. Google's your friend, kids.
I think it's funny. I think you're the second person that's mentioned Pitbull now since we've started doing this. I'm fairly certain we've heard his name before.
Mm-hmm. Jenni, if you could be on any TV show, either as a character or as yourself, what would it be?
Well, kind of going back to, you said I should be on MasterChef. I would like to be on one of the chef shows, but just as like, I'm here to help, right? Ah. Like Ina Garten, I love the Barefoot Contessa. I love Gordon Ramsay. Heck, I every time I watch Robert Irvine make over a restaurant, I'm like, I could decorate that so much better than that. But I'd love to be on any of those shows. Nothing where they put me under a time limit to make something or I get eliminated. Not one of those. But those are some of my favorite chefs, and I think it would just be amazing to learn something from any of them. So I would love to be on those.
I have to imagine Gordon Ramsay is an HR professional's nightmare. Unless that's all a show and he doesn't do that in real life, which I don't think He's probably turned up a little bit for television, but can you imagine the harassment claims he's must have?
Oh, yeah, I'm surprised.
Hostile work environment for
just
yelling
in the
at me.
restaurant industry itself, I think, is just a hotbed of that.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's definitely, that's the first half of my professional career was in hospitality. My mom owned a restaurant and that's where I worked, was in restaurants for many, many years. So yeah, I am kind of surprised after all these other things that have come out that somebody hasn't said Gordon Ramsay did this, or, maybe he's paying him off. I don't know. But yeah, it would be a nightmare, I think, if he's like that in real life.
Well, recently it was announced that it's going to be Jenni Stone Day all around the world. What are we doing to celebrate?
Oh, we're going to eat. We're going to drink. We're going to carouse with friends. We're going to sing songs, right? I mean, I think that it's funny because if it's one thing, and I think lately, again, just kind of coming back to what we've all gone through over the last couple of years, just get everybody together. Just imagine if at one time you could have every friend and family member, present and past, right? That could all join you at your dinner table or, wherever and have a meal with you. I think that would be the most fantastic way to celebrate any day. And you don't have to wait for Jenni Stone Day to do it.
And what would we be eating in particular?
Oh gosh. I kind of gravitate toward, I'm really good with Italian lately. So I would probably make, I just started making an amazing recipe of homemade meatballs and spaghetti. And then I would do these rolls. They're called cacio e pepe, and which literally means cheese and pepper. It's they're Parmesan cheese puffs. Ooh. And they're absolutely amazing. So that's probably what I would make for you. Because, whenever you have a lot of people over, you always got to make a big old pasta dish. That's how you can feed everyone. Right. So, and then I'd probably have Girl Scout cookies that I bought from Wendy's daughters because I keep buying too many Girl Scout cookies.
As one should.
Yes.
You should always have too many Girl Scout cookies in your house. That's my rule. Jenni, finally, as you know, we are outsourcing some of our work. So if you could ask the next guest of the podcast any question, what would it be?
Well, with this one, I thought this was interesting because for me lately, I've been watching, have you watched Atlas of the Heart yet with Brené Brown on HBO?
I have not.
I'm not.
So she's got her own special and I've been watching that. So it made me think, if I could ask one question, I would say, what have you read or listened to recently that inspired you?
Yeah, I like it. That's a great question.
Well, Jenni, it is now in the book. I hope that the person says HR Social Hour, maybe even your episode, that inspires them.
Yes.
They'll get a bonus, like I don't know what, but we'll have to, I'll give them an avatar shirt.
We'll get them a onesie.
Yeah. It has been an absolute pleasure to catch up. It had been far too long. I'm glad that while I know it was a difficult journey, I'm glad you were able to do it with such grace and so beautifully and share it, be willing to share it with us and with our listeners. I know many of them are already connected with you, but for those that are not, that would like to get in touch now, best way for them to reach you out there.
Well, on LinkedIn, believe it or not, I'm the only Jenni Stone spelled Jenni. So that's pretty crazy. So Jenni Stone on LinkedIn or on Twitter, absolutely HR Rockstar 1 is my Twitter handle. Reach out to me either way there. And of course, if you're following the SHRM influencers, I'm part of that group as well. But yeah, I love connections. Please.
We will have that in the show notes. And then Wendy, how about you? Best way for listeners to reach you out there?
Best way, as always, on my blog, mydailyjourney.com. And of course, the second and fourth Sunday of each month, 7 p.m. Eastern time, you will find me on Twitter as part of our twice monthly Twitter chat. How about you, Jon?
Once again, thanks to our friends at Namely for sponsoring this episode and the entire month of May. Mm-hmm. Be sure to check out namely.com to learn more about them and their offerings. As for me, jonthurman.com for all things Jon Thurman, and for the show, hrsocialhourpodcast.podbean.com. Listen, rate, review, share, and follow whatever platform you're on. Click the check mark, follow button, plus sign. I don't know. They're all different. But wherever you're listening, if you do that, follow, you'll get that new episode each and every week. And we appreciate that very much.
Yes.
International listeners, we love talking to you. We'd love to have more of those conversations. We look more forward to having more of those conversations later in the year. It is easier for you to get in touch with us than for us to get in touch with you. So please reach out in all the different ways you can find us, except our work emails. Please don't contact us there. But otherwise, reach out and we will start those conversations. Yes. So Jenni, again, really appreciate being with us. So for the HR Social Hour Half Hour Podcast, I'm Jon.
And I'm Wendy. And as always, be sure to connect,
give back, and network. Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon.